So we're going to be talking the role of Grid Marshal. So what can you tell us about being a Grid Marshal? What does that involve?
I hope I'm going to say the right things because I know Rob is watching and he's sort of been a bit of a mentor, so back in Adelaide. Grid Marshal for me, sort of our job is to ensure that cars, when they come out of the form-up or gridding area, which is in the pit lane and paddock, ensure that they line up for a standing start in their correct grid boxes, which you'll see often on a front straight of any racetrack. Sort of just a final check to make sure that they're stopped. Drivers sometimes might be doing their helmets up or belts, so just making sure that they're okay, and a quick check over.
Oh, your mic's gone.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Okay, that's better. That's good. So a final check of just making sure drivers are strapped in and ready to go and they're not asking for any assistance, and also a final check on the cars if there's time to do so. Often crews will leave equipment maybe hanging at the front of the car or on top. It might even be a rag. And just making sure the grid is clear and safe for them to start. It's sort of a very quick role. You haven't got much time to get out onto the grid. And then once you do, it's often a professional. You have to be very professional. If it's a big event, cameras and eyes will be on you. If it's a supercars type thing, there'll be pit walks and people walking around. And even though there's all that fanfare going around, you've got to really maintain a professional attitude and stand there and do your duty and look out for the things that you need to. And it's kind of cool because you're the sort of last people on the grid when the 1 minute signal comes out. So they'll often give, depends on the event, maybe a 30-minute, 15, 5-minute, a 1. And then once you get that, the crews have gone off and they're ready to start their formation lap. You leave the grid, and it's quite a overwhelming when the cars start their engines and you get all that excitement. So
yeah, and then you have to try and make the elegant leap over the wall.
Well, I haven't had to. Malala is probably the worst because there's a concrete wall that separates basically the fence and the grid, and so you have to get a good leap up and some momentum to get over that. And many times I've hit my knees, and so have other people. But most of the other times I've done grid at the Adelaide 500 and Bathurst, and they have gates which you can filter out through, which is good.
Yeah, a bit better, a bit easier.
Yeah.
So how did you become involved in motorsport?
No one in my family is involved in motorsport at all. So I remember my earliest memories were watching a supercars race on TV and nagging my dad to take me to the Adelaide 500 as a spectator. And I went there for 1 or 2 years, and that was back when I was a teenager. And I had the initiative to contact CAMS or Motorsport Australia back then, and they sort of got me a list of clubs and car clubs and organisations that I could get involved with. And one that stuck out to me was Sam Rower, who I was sort of there. Sam Rower was the South Australian Officials Motor Racing Association, and they're dedicated flag marshals and communication marshals for South Australia, and been with them for a long time. And I think South Australia needs to be a motorsport official because you can diversify and do such a variety of roles. You're not set in what you want to do. And at state rounds, I wanted to try Grid, which was run by the Sporting Car Club, and I was able to put my name down for that and try a variety of roles without being stuck to one thing.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. So has anyone got any questions for Lisa on being a grid marshal? I'll start. What kind of skills do you need?
Skills.
Now,
I think you have to be... Sorry?
Being able to leap over concrete.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit of physical ability, I suppose. Once you actually do the gridding on the grid, I found at events that I've done, you can double up as a pit lane marshal. So you might see at the start of an event, as cars rolling up, you will put out a yellow flag and then remove that yellow flag, and that's just a bit of a safety precaution to ensure that that grid that you're looking after is set and ready to go. So you need to have a bit of, yeah, I don't know, exercise and stuff to be able to get there when you need. I think you need to be able to concentrate really well in that short amount of time and be able to react quickly too. I've had a situation where I've had to push start a car off the grid, and Malala is quite a short track, but you still have enough time to get the job done. But yeah, just think quickly on your feet and yeah, do the job, because there are people on the grid there with you as well, but when you're doing your specific role in your grid allocation, then it's up to you, and you can't really communicate as such with others unless you've got a microphone and comms, and that might only be at larger events. So.
And is there a pathway to being a grid marshal?
Not as such. I haven't come across anywhere that there's a dedicated Grid Marshals club or group, but with anything and club events, you start out with one thing, but you diversify and you end up learning other roles as well. So I think if you put your hand up for things, most people will give you the opportunity to have a go.
Great. So any questions for Lisa? No? Okay. Well, I have another one for you, Lisa. You've officiated at so many different events, from rallying to cars to bikes. Do you have a preferred motorsport genre, or do you love them all?
I love them all, but my favourite event that I've ever officiated at is the Phillip Island MotoGP. I've just found that they treated the officials so well there. The weather is always up in the air, but it's little things like coming back at the end of the day to muster the shed, and there's pies and pasties, and in the lead up to the event, it's quite open as such, the paddock, the MotoGP paddock, being a Premier League type event compared to Formula One. I also loved the WRC in Coffs Harbour a few years ago. So a few of us from SA went over and we ran a few stages up there, and that was a bit of a task in itself, but just good fun being out in the forest and being out with people and being so close to the actual World Rally cars. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. I have to add that one to the list, I think, to do a rally event. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa.